Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Expat Experience, a live show and podcast highlighting the lived experiences of Black expats around the world. I am Kendall Tyson, your host, a licensed therapist and a fellow Black expat living in Beijing who is currently home on summer vacation. We have an amazing episode in store for you today with a new guest. And I would like to welcome Tara to the show. Hey, Tara.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
You are
I'm
so
laughing
welcome.
because when you asked, I was like, I want to support my sister. She's doing a great thing, but interviews not my thing.
I know, baby, she was nervous. And listen, I appreciate the honesty, but I am even more grateful for you stepping outside of your comfort zone and sharing this time with me and with the audience and letting people know what a profile in courage looks like. So I'm hoping that you'll have a good experience and have great things to say about how you felt once the interview is over. And I want to offer so we're both counselors. We live in different places in the world, and a lot of people tend to have this caricature of us as being like these counselors being, just timid and always, we do hold space, but not the most outgoing and effervescent. And I'm just like, they haven't met people like us. Because while sometimes like speaking in public and things may not be our strong suit, we get up and share like really vital, important, and timely information. I mean, you did in Bangkok, and we'll definitely have to talk about that. But one of the main motivations, as far as definitely centering educators, and obviously Black educators, is that I want people to recognize is that there is no standard look. There is a variety in presentation and personality, and we all can thrive, doing this work. So yes. I say all that to say thank you.
No, thank you.
So
I'm Tara, as you stated, and I am a licensed mental health counselor as well as a school counselor. I'm currently reside in Abu Dhabi. I just finished my third year. It started out like everyone else. Well, a lot of people say, I'm just going to do my 2 years and then, just scratch that itch and see how it goes, or, I'm done. But I'm on year 3. I just finished year 3, and I will return in August for year 4. What happens after that, I don't know. But that's pretty much about me. I don't do private practice right now since being abroad. My main focus has been just working as a school counselor, and I currently work as the girls counselor for grades 9 through 12 at an international American school.
Congratulations. Listen, I'm glad that you took the leap. I'm glad that you are servicing a community of individuals that might not receive the level of culturally competent support, had it not been for you going out there. And it is so funny. I think this might be the adage for lots of people that move abroad is, like you said, oh, I'm just going to do this many years. Just be lying and don't even know it. Like, I know, like you, I said, oh, I'm going to come out here. I'm going to do 2 or 3 years. I'm starting year 6. And
and I was adamant about it too. Like I was like, no, y'all. I was like, this is something I always wanted to experience.
Right.
The opportunity has come. I'm gonna do my 2 years, and I promise you, I'm coming right back. So
right. It's like, you get a taste of this life and this freedom, and like the level of travel that it can afford you, and connecting with so many different people. It's really challenging reconfiguring what does life look like after or in a different country. Let me ask you, can you see yourself coming back full time to the United States?
That's a question I struggle with, and I'm always asked. And it's at some point I do, because I have more years behind me than I do ahead of me as far as like retirement. So I have to factor in those type of things when I'm considering that type of move. But I've gotten comfortable in this lifestyle. I've gotten spoiled. in this lifestyle. I'm living a life I could not have dared live as an educator
Yeah.
in the States. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the things that I struggle most with. Like, when do I come back, and what is that going to look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All
yeah.
vital questions.
Yeah. It's a
It is
lot
a
to consider.
conundrum.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot to consider, because again, the lifestyle that I have, and people always ask, everybody's talking about the soft lifestyle now, being
Yeah.
soft, like you get that living abroad, as
Yes.
a single woman.
Yes.
And so, yeah, the thought of coming back and the thought of sacrificing some of the things that I would have to give up to come back, it just makes me question when the return will happen.
You know what? Thank you for that honesty. Like, we're definitely going to have an additional conversation, recorded or not, about how do we hold space. And, we're part of this greater community that we started in Bangkok, but everybody is on a different spectrum when it comes to their time abroad. And what does it look like to provide advice, consent, support, hold space for wherever we are along our journey? Because it is mind-boggling. It is a lot to contend with. There's, like you shared, sometimes I wonder if grieving is the right word. A grieving of, one, when you come, letting go of, well, I would have loved to be able to do this in the US. However, with all the constraints and restrictions and lack of respect provided us, and depending on where you live, because you're in North Carolina, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm in Texas. We know our governments are, I'll say, interesting, and I'll leave it at that.
Exactly.
But it won't look like how things are, the life that we've been able to provide ourselves as women living abroad. And I think that there's a community for us, a community within a community for us to create when we're in like that space of trying to figure things out. So
exactly.
my wheels are always turning. So be prepared for us to do this collaboration on what that looks like.
Yeah.
I want to get into it. Can you share with us what was like the precipitating event? What was the light, that struck the match? I don't even know if that idiom was correct, that made you consider and move forward with moving abroad?
So like I said, it's something I always wanted to do. Like even in college, like I was wanting to do like study abroad, but I operated in fear. And so I operated in fear for a very long time when it comes to living abroad, sometimes hearing other people's experiences, which is why you have to be mindful of like blocking out or what you absorb from other people, but just operated in fear for so long. And then I remember I moved to a new middle school. I was working with someone at my middle school, and they were just talking about teachers who had moved abroad. And I was like, I really wish there was something, an opportunity like that for me as a counselor. Because, most of the experiences that I heard was more so people who moved abroad was teaching English or, just teaching in the classroom. And I used to always say, I don't want to go back in the classroom. I love what I do.
Once
And
I'm out.
exactly. And so we were having lunch, and she said, there's an opportunity for counselors. There are counselors who live abroad, that work abroad. And so my antenna went up. I still didn't act then, but my antenna went up. And then so let's say 3 years later, I finally just decided that I'm going to put my myself out there. As my pastor would say, jump scared. So, and that's what I did. I jumped scared and put it out there. Like when I did it though, like Kendall, it was an unexpected experience for me developing personally because I literally sold my house. I literally had to take a leap of faith without knowing. Like everybody's like, where are you going to be working? Where are you going? I don't know. But I had to let go of all these things to figure out what my next move was. So that summer, I had someone who had recently moved to the location that I'm at, and I wasn't dead set on Abu Dhabi. I was just set on I want to immerse myself in a different culture. I want to live abroad. At the time, it was really specifically, I wanted to go to a Spanish speaking country because at the school that I was working with, we had a lot of Spanish speaking students. And so I was trying to learn Spanish and trying to connect the dots. Like if I get immersed, maybe I'll learn it. But then the journey just went a whole different route, as you can see. um, but yeah, so I just put my hat, sold the house, said, okay, I put in my resignation. I had been in my school district for years. So that comfort losing that comfort was very scary. Like, not people like, how did you sell your house and you don't know where you're going to be moving to or where you're going to be working? So again, those outside voices was like really challenging me. But I interviewed for a position and I didn't get it that year because he's essentially told me, he was like, at the end of the interview, you should have seen me, I deflated. But he was like, I really, like you. I really like this conversation. I can see how you can be someone who can contribute to our school. He said, but I'm honestly continuing my interview because I offer someone a position. I don't know if they're going to accept the contract. And I was like, well, why did you waste my time?
Why wasting my time?
Waste my time. But I get it now because he had to make sure, in case that person didn't take it. He said, but I'm going to follow up with you. And in my head, I was like, he ain't going to follow up. But at the same time, I was interviewing for a temporary position that was in Florida that could have been long-term. Somebody was on maternity leave. So I accepted that position, operating in faith that, okay, I'm going to do this for 1 year and then I'm going to go abroad. And that's what happened. I moved to Tampa for a year. They offered me the position to be permanent in the school system, but at the same time, the director that I interviewed with, he kept his word. He reached out to me and was like, hey, I got approved to get another counselor added. I want to interview for the position. And we were, rolling ever since. And so that's how I ended up there.
I love it. Girl, oh man, I like the feelings that are coming up for me right now are one, pride, right? I'm super proud of you and like congruence. When you said operating out of fear, it feels like this lightning bolt of, dang, I'm not the only one. And I don't know, tell me what you think about this as professional Black women, Southern especially. I think part of our identities are rooted in being educated, being self-sufficient, like there's a way to be respectable, living inside someone's bounds and not necessarily our own. Mm-hmm. Please correct me if I am characterizing, because I'm definitely speaking about my experience.
No, sure. You're in alignment.
Yeah. And two things that I wonder, I know for myself for sure, that I find to be prevalent in my head a lot is safety and security.
Yes.
I want to make a safe move, right? I need some certainty.
Yes.
I need to be able to know that this A leads to B and B leads to C. Like it has to make sense.
Yes, it has to be calculated. Everything I need to know how the end result is going to be.
Just be stressed all the way out. And like, I know for me, I'm wondering for you, do you notice sometimes, especially with us being clinicians, that can take away from our ability to be present in the moment and really enjoying where we are from the decisions that we've made and like just living an abundant, thriving life?
Yes, exactly. You gave me chills because that's one of the things that I have to personally or have learned to work on is being present, because I was always calculating the next move, because like you said, that sense of security, you can't lose that. You can't leave that. You can't lose it. You worked hard to obtain it, and so you got to sustain it. So the thought of not having that, I know for me, I was always like thinking next step ahead or 2 steps ahead or 3 steps ahead. And so and I was also like, I would never have admitted that before, because I'm like, I'm a clinician, I'm a counselor. How am I saying I'm operating in fear? And I'm teaching other people how not to operate in fear, how to be bold, how to jump scared, how to, take that leap of faith. And here I am like, no, that's not for me. But the root cause was fear.
Yeah.
So like 3 or 4 years ago, Kimber, you never would have heard me say out loud I was operating in fear. I
Wow.
can say that now.
Confident,
Because
clearly.
yeah, I can say that now and just know that, like you said, losing that sense of security was a no-no. Like I worked too hard to do that. Like you said, just with
Yeah.
our upbringing and the expectation of us as Black women and making sure that, we are doing what we need to do, provide for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So when you think about the clarity that hindsight provides, what do you recognize that there are some things that you had to let go of in order to be able to really walk into like the desire and the goal and like that reckoning of this is part of the path because it's always been this desire that I've had, and here I am, I have an opportunity. Like, what do you recognize that I have to relinquish this, I have to let go of this if I really want to attain these particular things?
Control.
I was hoping you didn't say that.
Control. You talking about somebody who got to control everything and everybody.
Listen, my mama would be like, I ain't your child.
Control. Like literally, when you asked that question, the first thing that came to my mind is I was going to say letting go of fear and control, but you have to learn how to navigate in your fear. So you're not essentially letting go. You're essentially, because that's what courage is, moving while you are afraid. So it's not essentially letting go of fear, but it's letting go of control. Like I can't control or dictate or pinpoint every step of this journey. Like I have to literally be courageous and do what I need to do to prepare myself, but be comfortable not knowing what the end result is going to be or what the outcome. Like we know we're going to be okay, but it's just a matter of what level of okay, like how much control do I have of this and what is okay, where I'm gonna land on okay. So yeah, it's letting go of the control. That's the first, that's the main thing, is letting go of that control.
Oh man, I feel like I'm talking to myself right now, which is why I'm so glad that you agreed to do this interview, because like I posted this quote earlier. I'm reading the book Sisterhood Heels. Get the book. I mean, I think I posted in our group that we need to do something with it because it is illuminating so many things as a Black woman that wants to be in healthy relationship with other Black women, which is something that I personally have struggled with growing up in the city that I'm from, and learning how to navigate that on a global scale has been such a healing experience. When we all met in Bangkok, I was just like, oh my God, like we all have very similar life experiences, yet still varied. And is this what healthy community looks like, even though we're dispersed all over the world?
Yeah.
I am so grateful for you recognizing that letting go of control, operating in fear, do it afraid. That's what we say over here, do it afraid, right?
Do it afraid, yes.
Honestly, I believe like if there's not an element of fear or trepidation in the goals that you're setting, then you really aren't stretching yourself.
Exactly.
Can you share with me when you made the decision and you shared with your family? At what point did you recognize, if you recognized, okay, so there has to be some boundaries here when it comes to what I share and what I absorb?
Yeah. Yeah. So fortunate for me, my family was very supportive. I'm gonna try to get through this segment without getting too emotional because
it's okay, because I feel like I've been wanting to cry this whole time.
Because I've experienced some loss along the way. So when I first got the itch, one thing I could say is my mother is very supportive. Her biggest thing is she just wants me to be happy.
Yeah.
So like once she gave me her stamp of approval, it was like I could care less what anybody else says, especially since she's older. So it's just like, but again, you do allow and absorb some of those, voices from other people. But so my sister was very supportive. My family was very supportive. It was more so outside my family where those voices were like, "You gonna go there?" And then especially once I confirmed where I was going, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I really had to put the blinders on because you're going to a Muslim country, you're going to convert, you're going to do this, and you can't. And it was just like,
But
you moving in the middle of COVID because I moved in 2020.
I
So
know I was doing the math in my head, like, wait, 3 years?
yeah. And even then, I questioned myself because when COVID happened, I was like, "This mean I can't go?" But the job was like, "Hey, we still want you here." So
Yeah.
it was more so outside. My family has been very supportive, and even now, like when I extend my contract, I go to my mom first. Like, "Mom, thinking about extending." She's like, "As long as you happy, and as long as I feel confident, and she's telling me that, and she's sincere about that, I'm okay."
Mm.
But my sister was one of the ones. She was like, "Girl, you ain't coming back in 2 years." She was like, "You." She was like, "You're not coming back in 2 years." She was like, "You can say that all you want to." It was her and my close friend. They both said, "You're not gonna be here. You going longer than that." So it's very supportive. But one of the turning moments for me was my dad. When I told him that I was going to do this, he also in that same conversation told me he was diagnosed with cancer. And so he's deceased now. He when I did that trip and going back, I got chills now thinking about it. But I believe my delay was because of what he was going through. Because if I was abroad, I would not have been able to be by his bedside before he passed. I would not have been able to just get home like I needed to be there during that time. So, at first I was like, oh, why am I delayed? That sense of control, like this is
Yeah.
what I planned, this is what's supposed to happen. But but yeah, things happen differently. So, but it was in a conversation with him, like here he is diagnosed with cancer, not knowing his lifeline. He was like, go, you got to do it. He was like, if that's something you always wanted to do, you got to do it. And see it through. He was like, I'm gonna be all right. You need to live your life. And so to hear him say that, of course, like I said, in addition to my mom, it was like, okay, cool. And so I remember visiting him uh, during Thanksgiving, and I was like, Dad, I might be able to, navigate getting abroad, and this is where I'm going. And I was like, with people, but he said, mm-mm. And he could barely speak at the time because he had lung cancer. But he was like, don't listen to people. He was like, don't let people project their fears on you. And so I would remember that when I'm listening to people and I'm getting worked up, like, oh, I haven't researched that. Well, I didn't look up that part. They brought, like people planning things. And it's like I hadn't even considered those factors. And so it was making me question, second guess. And so that was like my mom and my dad, like, were both the aha moments where I was like, okay, they supported me. I can do this.
Wow. One, I want to offer my condolences for your
Thank
father
you.
passing. Like I feel the emotion like swelling in my
Mhm.
chest right now.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna cry at some point. I can already feel it because
I can feel it too. This is
like this conversation, I love them all. It's something that's hitting different with ours. And I just want, as clinicians, for people to recognize that what's happening in these moments that we experience are all useful. Let the emotion flow because it is a healing process. And
Mhm.
being able to share our stories, one, helps us continue to grow and to heal and to strengthen,
Exactly.
but it also gives like a roadmap for those who are in a space that are ready to hear and to do their own work. Um,
Mhm.
it kind of gives a blueprint of what that process could look like, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just really grateful for you sharing that. I think it's one. I was just gonna ask. I think it's one, like families having that approval. My parents, like yours, my mom and them was like, "Oh, you're telling us we know what's happening." Because similar to you, I have been wanting to be international, like in the world, since I was
Mhm.
little,
Mhm.
and was gonna study abroad in college, and other things happened, and it's like you toil, sometimes you don't know what for, but you know there's a purpose, but
Yeah.
all of the dots haven't been connected, but they make sense. They will make sense at some point.
Mhm.
And for you to share that you had that approval from the people that mattered, I think I resonate with that because as someone who tends to do what they want to do anyway, like being the oldest daughter, the approval of my mother, my father, even my little sister, matters so much to me, especially like being a single woman. And one of the things that gets me choked up, and I'm probably gonna cry as I say this, is the notion of being abroad, and making sure that they're okay, even though I can't control it.
Exactly.
Be on their nerves. I know I'd be on their nerves, especially with COVID hitting. And I know my mom listening to me right now. She probably like, just, I'm like, I'm the oldest daughter. My sister is married, has children, but I'm like, I've had y'all the longest in my life, and I just need to know that you're going to be okay. And I don't know what my life would look like if you were no longer in it, even though I don't show it in the right all the time. Like, I love them deep.
Yeah.
How do you, I think this is one of the sacrifices that we have to really recognize and make some peace with when we choose to go abroad to live the life that we deserve. How do you reconcile with that over time?
Yeah. So I look at it almost like, for lack of a better saying or word, is survivor's remorse.
Yeah.
Because here I am living this grand lifestyle, and then I know what I'm leaving behind, or I know who I'm leaving behind. And so it all goes back to being okay with not being okay. I had to be okay with knowing that life is going to happen, things are going to take place while I'm away. I'm the baby of the family, and they'll let you know. They still say I'm the baby. They're as old as I am. She baby girl, baby girl. But I'm protective of my sister. I'm protective of my brother. I'm protective of my family. So, you know how they show those memes where it's always a little sister that's trying to, buck up at everybody. I'm that way with my family. So so I had to be okay with knowing they're gonna be okay with me not being directly in the picture or being as accessible as before. And that involved with, crying sometimes when I know that there's events taking place or there's life happening. Like my niece, she got into a car accident, and that was within my first year. Was I was her emergency contact at the time. And so we was like, oh, we had to adjust this because they couldn't reach me. It was like, we got to adjust this. And it was like the whole idea of having to adjust that I'm not the first point of contact, the whole idea of knowing that I can't run to them when something happened. I can't offer to be there. That's an emotional toll, and that's something that you deal with on a regular basis, is just trying to navigate and being okay with not being there and being okay with not being okay. And so for me, the way I navigate that is I have to pray. I have to be open about what I'm feeling and not try to suppress it, because when you do, we already know what happens when you suppress those feelings. It just manifests in other ways and it's unhealthy. So I acknowledge. I just be like, okay, this is hurting. Okay, this is bothering me, and I'm vocal. I communicate like what I need to, to my family. So, yeah.
Thank you for offering that. How's your niece?
She's doing well. Oh, you said how old?
How is she?
Oh, she's fine. This happened 3 years ago. Yeah, that was like the first year. Was like, I just moved there, and I was already struggling. Like I said, I was moving away with COVID. It was a lot, knowing what I was leaving behind. So yeah.
And there's this thing that when dealing with anxiety, one of my specialties as someone that lives with anxiety and someone that that is an expert in helping other people work through and live with. One of the things we say is the thing that you focus on is what's going to amplify. And I'm really curious about ways that you recognize you've had to shift and grow as a person, as an individual that is a baby, that is used to being in control, like control feels like safety, right? And then choosing to move to this foreign place, to expand and grow personally, professionally. Like what does that look like when adjusting to all of these new normals? And
yeah. So I would say for me, there was areas of my life that I recognized that needed to be healed.
Mm,
Um, and
mm,
so part of that sense of controlling is like, why? You know, like why do you have what are you holding on to, or what are you afraid of? Like what is this cause of this type of control? Is this trauma response? You know, what are these things? So you have to sit with yourself. And also too, that's the thing with moving abroad is that you're gonna sit with yourself a lot. You're away from the distractions, you're away from the noise. So the fact that I was always the fixer, I always say solution focused. I'm the one that's got to control everybody in every situation. So um being detached from all that and moving abroad my first year was a lot of healing. There was a lot of things that was revealed that would not have never been revealed if I would have stayed in the noise, stayed in the distractions, because again, you used to operating on focusing on everyone else that you rarely focus on doing your inner work. And so things were revealed to me that I needed to heal. So the healing process, learning to use the support, you know, as a therapist, we have to have therapists. We have to have someone we talk to. So seeking professional help, talking to someone, those type of things have helped with making those type of transitions and just being honest with yourself. Like a lot of times we focus, and I know me, it was an aha moment for me as a clinician. Um, just thinking about working with people who suffer with self-love, self-acceptance, self-esteem. You know, you talk about self-love, but one of the biggest components and eye-opening experience for me as a clinician is the importance of self-forgiveness. You can't
ooh,
teach somebody to love themselves until they forgive themselves. And we don't recognize that we have behaved in certain ways, we have experienced certain things in our lives where we feel or we get accustomed to thinking that we're not worthy because of something we did in our past. It could be something great, it could be something small, but until we forgive ourselves for the decisions we made, the mistakes we made, we can't move to accepting ourselves, and then we can't move to loving ourselves. So the root of all that is when you heal, you got to forgive yourself. And
mm,
then you have to move forward to that self acceptance and to um, that self compassion to move forward. And I think I deviated from your original question. I just
no,
kind
you
of
did
started,
not. No, no,
started
you
going,
went down
going on a
most
tangent, but
appropriate path.
like, wait, in my mind, I was like, how you get here? She asked about how did you, but yeah,
Because that's what we
healing,
do. We
healing, healing is the path, revealing the things you need to heal because I just kind of feel, and that's the message that I am like kind of giving to people now is like that self forgiveness and you know, there's this thing on social media, everybody's talking, you got to heal, and everybody glorify and romanticize the healing, but they don't talk about the process. So people start and they get scared and back away, like, oh, I don't want to deal with that emotion, or oh, I don't want
baby,
to face that.
listen,
Yeah, so
uh, it's a battle, and it is not for the faint of heart.
it's
And
not, and it's an ongoing process. You know, you feel like,
ooh,
oh, I will claim that, but it's like, no, you got to continue to heal and nurture and grow and do those things.
yes, it is
So yeah,
dynamic. It is kind of like, I think of it like a ladder. You master one level, oh, you bask in it, you know, congratulate yourself, celebrate the success, but then you recognize I have to be able to be present and enjoy this moment because I'm
yes,
going higher.
yes.
And whatever I've learned and acquired to get here, it's only going to help fortify me when I go higher because
Yes,
whatever I hadn't healed from or whatever I'm choosing not to recognize is going to pop up in another shape, form, or fashion.
exactly.
So that lesson is learned, you re-experience it. And with you sharing that there has to be an openness, right? There has to be some self-forgiveness, whether things that happened we caused or things happened to us. They're still like letting go of that shame and
Yes,
really reconfiguring our understanding of situations that allows us to recognize I am worthy for of all of these things that my life can afford me, right?
hmm,
This decision that I've made puts me in a different place to, I don't even know if I'm one that ascribe to like the soft life. I'm definitely more of like the healed life, and the present life, not any shade on the soft life, right? Because I don't want to be soft and deflecting. I want to be healed, present, and aware. And
yes. And so that's how I define soft life for me.
Okay.
It's being healed, being aware, allowing myself to not always be on guard. Like for a long time, I'm always guarded. Like you got to operate in your like triggered response versus operating in a tranquility. So that's what I mean by like a soft life, not so much of the vanity of soft life, like, you know, having someone take care of me and do the, like, I mean, I welcome that. Like, I would like to be able to have that. But soft life entails what you described, but, you know, it also entails, to be honest, part of that financial piece, because there's no way where I live now is where I could live here in the States with my income, but also to just being comfortable, being vulnerable, being able to not always operate in a space where you have to be on guard all the time.
So that really just unlocked something for me, if you couldn't tell by my reaction. One, I want to say, okay, so I take notes as I listen to guests kind of expound on their life, and I have so many notes right now. Like the one that just kind of struck me was operating in tranquility, and oh, I feel like I'm about to cry. And not feeling like you have to be on guard all the time.
Yeah. Being triggered, like a lot of times, I mean, there's things gonna trigger us, but as you heal, as you grow, you learn not to react to those triggers. You learn to pause, you learn to take a moment and then respond, or even acknowledge that I don't have to respond to this because my old self would be triggered by this and have to react. And you don't always have to react. So that's what I mean by being, you know, the tranquil part of it. It's like, I recognize this and I accept this, and this is how I'm gonna start responding and move. But it's exhausting always living like locked and loaded and gotta be, you know, thinking everybody's coming for you. Yes, already gotta be on guard already. Like I literally have a sign on my wall in my office that says, "Don't take everything personal," because everything is not about you, but it feels that way because it resembles something that triggered you in the past, or resembles something that you have yet to heal from. And so, yeah, we have to learn not to take every little piece. Now, some things people are intentional when they come for you, but a lot of times it's not. It's more so them than it is you.
Because we all wading through our own stuff. And I think when you shared that particular anecdote, the not being on guard all the time, for me, I noticed that shows up more at work. I have a lot of work trauma that I am still sifting through at 41 years old, starting my 16th year in education.
Yeah.
And, you know, working, this is like my third career, like working in business first and then moving into education. There have been numerous traumatic experiences as an ambitious Black woman that's outspoken and knowledgeable and wants and has a desire to be not liked, but understood and accepted.
Yeah.
And as you said that, something unlocked for me that I am at work specifically heavily guarded, especially working in an international context where I am the only Black woman in high school. I am the head of the counseling department this year. So people that
congratulations, look at
you. Thank you. So and even accepting that or putting my name forward for it, I was just like, okay, now what could this look like? Operate in fear, but then I had to recognize there's so much opportunity for me to lean into the things that I'm passionate about, helping to grow people, being a supervisor, you know, really embedding this program of cultural competency and cultural responsiveness and care and empathy. I would like for you to share for any other Black clinicians, even women specifically, men, we care about y'all too, and our non-gender confirming, we love y'all too, but we're women right now that want to come abroad, that want to grow their professional portfolio, be them counselors or teachers. What would you share in that regard when it comes to how do you care for yourself when you are used to having to be on guard professionally and now you're in this new arena? What does that look like? Like, what would you offer as far as moving differently?
So the first and foremost is you do have to let go of that American mindset and be more open
Yeah.
to receive and understand the culture that you decide to immerse yourself into.
Right.
And that was one of the best things that someone could advise me. It was like, as soon as you step off that plane, and it's in you because it shows up in work, and I have to remind myself because I'm like, this is how we do it, or this is how it should be done, or
Yeah.
this is what I'm used to doing. So you do have to learn to let go and be open to being receptive to the culture that you immerse yourself in. But also too, another thing you have to do is don't dim your light.
Ooh.
Like, don't dim your light. And that was another thing for me. Like, I'm always telling my students that I even have a poster in my office that says, don't dim your light for anyone. Shine that light. So speak up, show your talents, but also to know your worth and know your value. When you get into those meetings or you get presented those opportunities, because a lot of times we suffer from that
Imposter syndrome.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm going to make a proposal to talk about that.
Yes, the imposter syndrome is real. And so I'm glad you're going to do that. Like for me, I struggled when I did that presentation at Bangkok, but that
And
was
you
me
did, let me just
putting myself
pause.
out.
You did phenomenally. So, and
Thank
you
you.
was in there making sure that you knew you had support.
Can I just say for a moment though, too, while we pause it, is that you all gave me the boost and the confidence and the love I needed when I saw the line of you all walking. Like I got chills right now thinking about that. When I walked in, I was like, "Thank you, God." I was like,
Yes.
"Okay, you heard my prayer. You like I am getting support. Y'all were participating. Y'all were active, engaged, and just there." And I look back there, I was like, oh, "The love of Black women loving on me. I do not take this lightly." So
Listen,
thank you
and you
for
did a great
supporting
job.
me.
So it was even better.
So thank you. I just remember that feeling of when you all walked in. I was like, everything's gonna be all right.
And we were happy to provide that. Like we were very strategic on, honestly, like Issa Rae said, we supporting everybody Black. So just get ready. And we knew that you all were going to deliver. And the things that you taught us, I use in therapy sessions, counseling sessions with kids now. So I'm grateful for you, jumping scared and doing a great job.
Yeah. So I said get over that imposter syndrome, jump scared, don't dim your lights, but also be open and receptive. But know your value, because one thing I can say is that after reflecting on the 3 years, like I was just kind of I did a list of the things I contributed to my school.
Yeah.
And I'm very humble. I don't like boast and like I do this, but someone told me, it was like, you need to make a list of things you have done to contribute to your current position and reflect on that. And when I looked at the list, Kendall, I was like blown away, like things that I've done. And so I say, when you contribute, know your value. Like make sure that as you elevate where you are elevating yourself. Like they recognize your value, you are getting your worth, and don't be afraid to ask for your worth, to make sure that your value is being respected and being honored the way it needs to be. So, like when you got those opportunities to go to those leaderships and take those positions, move forward. So I'm proud of you on stepping forward and going into those leadership roles because it's needed. Our representation is definitely needed. So
like having to take care of ourselves in a whole nother country. I've recognized that, while we're on this topic, I love massages. I like
Definitely.
staycations. Clearly, we love to travel. I buy books out the wazoo. I'm like, how am I going to ship any of this if I choose to move somewhere else?
Yes.
It's just like I don't have to wait for appointments. I have good insurance. And it makes me think of something that you shared earlier about like that survivor's remorse. I'm over here really living well. Not that my family here isn't, because they are. They worked for it. Sometimes it's like, I'm so grateful that I made this decision. And when we have like those difficult moments, it kind of makes sense. So I'm glad that one, you were sharing that professional credit list that you made to kind of help you to recognize, yeah, you really are about this professional life. And we can get so lost and mired in our situations, protecting ourselves depending on what some of the situations we find ourselves in when we go into self-protective mode, that, you know, we need to be able to have mechanisms and people that help us to be able to remind ourselves that you are exactly where you are supposed to be in this moment, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
And it's okay to care for yourself. It's okay to be, like you said, shine, you know, be vocal, not boastful or any of that arrogance. Arrogance, you know, is insecurity without anything up, but really stepping into like our power. And I wonder, is that challenging sometimes, especially in the school, like really operating in the power that is innate within you in this landscape of people that don't get it and might even be like, who she think she is?
When I tell you, so my first year, like I'm very vocal, very like I'm an advocate for my kids. I'm an advocate for what's right. So you know, and I'm passionate about my profession. I'm passionate about mental health. I'm passionate about, you know, just working with the kids. And so sometimes I have to check myself when I'm in meetings or in conversations where things are not in line with what I think they should be. And there have been plenty of times like I'm not gonna say anything this mean. I'm just gonna sit and be quiet. but then and so I remember telling myself, like, just be easy. You need to, you know, just take it easy. And I never forget, it was divine intervention. I know it was, because I was at a point where I was ready to shut down as far as like how I communicate and how I'm vocal about the things that matter most to me and what I feel like could help our school. And I remember my principal in a conversation, he was like, I really value things you say because you challenge me to see things in a different way. You challenge me to look at it from a different lens. And so, and your passion for your for the kids, your passion for your position, I see it, I feel it, I recognize it. And so I was like, okay, I don't have to shut down. I don't need, and it's so crazy because it's like I'm always telling my kids, don't dim your light. And here I am like, I need to be
wondering.
easy. Yes, wondering. So, because I always, sometimes I get very passionate and I don't want to be identified as the angry Black woman or the one that's coming in and just has to be so aggressive. I always try to figure out how to communicate with grace. And it's still express myself in love, but sometimes it doesn't come across like that. But apparently I've been doing a pretty good job, because when my principal said that, he was like, you know, I appreciate you doing that. And then so it was some time after that, the director, like the person that's over the school, was like, I like that, you know, you speak up for the things that you want. He said, we may not always agree, you may not always get your way, but I always value you speaking up and you make me see things in a different lens. And I said, okay, so I need to, yeah, so don't dim your light, shine your light, continue to speak in love, continue to speak in grace, and continue to do, you know, what's in the best interest of those you are serving, and things will work out for you.
Yeah, I'm taking note again of the speaking in love, because I recognize that I'm a verbal processor. And for some people that don't know me may think of that as complaining. Now I do complain, to people I trust, but I need to hear
Yes.
them process things out loud for them to connect and make sense. And I recognize that you can't do that with everyone that doesn't understand the way that you operate. Exactly. And when you said speak in love, I'm going to challenge myself to be more cognizant and aware, because there have been really challenging things. I think I shared this in our group where this individual called me the diversity hire and how that really hurt me.
Yeah.
And I did not have loving things to say in those moments, but then when I'm listening to you, it's kind of like, this is where I get tripped up a bit, is that as a clinician, we know how to illuminate and facilitate people's ways of being open to sitting with that feeling, coming up, what does it mean, what's being triggered in these moments, but then how do you really move forward in a way that's aligned with who you really say you're trying to be. And when I hear you say this, speak in love, I'm probably gonna make like a poster to put on social media, and I'm gonna credit you for it, because it's making me really sit with, I do not have to like or agree with the things that people say, but if you know yourself, if you, going back to the things that you said already, you're in the process of healing, engaging in self-forgiveness and self-compassion, operating in tranquility, girl, all these gems, and what you choose to do in response to that is on you. Yeah. It doesn't have to be triggered by that hurt, that feeling of otherness that someone is intentionally trying to make you feel. You gotta be smarter than that. Engage in wisdom. You've said many things in this conversation that have really kind of pricked my heart, and I'm recognizing that I can be upset, I can be frustrated, I can get free, but I don't have to be stuck on that. And I really want people to hear like what you've said and what I'm saying, especially if you're in education, working abroad. 9 times out of 10, it ain't gonna be many of you. And there's a different battle that we have to contend with, but we have so much power. We are empowered to respond in ways that align with the highest version of ourselves, whatever that looks like. And it takes time to get there.
It definitely does. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Because like you, I have people I can complain to. I have people that I can, say what I want to say, or help me tailor to say what I want to say in a more professional, loving. So yeah, it's an ongoing process. It's not one that's easy. You have to step away sometimes.
Luckily, my office is one of sanctuary. People come in, they're like, oh, it's so cool and calm and just, calming in here. And I'm like, I'm glad you feel that, because in this
exactly.
But at least it's coming across the way I'm intending for it.
And that's what I say. Like, it's
what?
Calm, and I feel, I'm like, what's the storm that's brewing up in here?
It is not. Oh my goodness. What do you believe has been like your greatest accomplishment to date?
Let's see. That's an interesting question. It's hard for me to kind of talk about myself.
And you're doing so well.
Thank you. When you say accomplishment, are you talking about like professionally or just overall as a person, or
whatever comes to mind for you, whatever you feel like you want to share? Because I think it's all interconnected.
Yeah. So I have this thing where I want my legacy to be love, to leave love. Like if I was to,
you don't write that
to do this, but I want people to know or feel love when they're with me or have been around me. And so this year I have received reminders, because I'm always self-reflecting. And I had to learn the difference between self-reflecting versus giving myself a hard time and putting myself like, you could have done this better, you could have done it. And that's another process. But one of the things is I want to be one to where my legacy is one who has spread light, who has spread love, but most importantly, love, because I feel like that's what everyone needs. That's the root of a lot of people hurt. And so I would say, like, one of the things that touched me is when some of my students that was graduating this year, one of my students, like, I just need one of your hugs. She was like, because you hug with love. And I was like I broke down because I'm like, yes, I'm walking in alignment with what I feel my legacy should be, or what I feel like my purpose should be. And just receiving those type of confirmations from people. And it's always right on time, right when I'm doubting, like, am I moving in the way I supposed to move or how I should move? But I get a divine intervention where a note will come or someone says something. And so I would say my biggest accomplishment is like finding a purpose, because a lot of times we struggle with, like, what is our purpose? Sometimes we feel like it's a certain talent, a certain skill set, but sometimes it's just about your being, your presence. And so I feel like part of my accomplishment so far has been working on leaving that legacy of love. And then also, too, my biggest accomplishment I would say up to date is starting the healing process. Um, that has been my biggest accomplishment, recognizing that healing need to take place, because as us as clinicians, you know, we're known to be the ones to help heal others or to help fix people or help them navigate what that road to healing looks like for them. And so I feel like starting that process for myself is a huge accomplishment, because you know, they say you can't heal what you don't reveal. And so learning to be vulnerable, learning to accept that has been a major accomplishment, I would say.
Just to hear you say you hug with love.
When she said that, it broke me, Kendall.
Girl, I'm sitting over here like, oh my God. Oh, because you know you can't fool kids, old folks, and so like they know.
Yeah.
I just
When she said that, it broke me. I was like,
I'm
oh
so
my
grateful
God.
she gave that to you.
Yes. I told her, I think she was just looking at me like, what, miss? Like, you know, they always say miss, you know, my students, they just miss. She said, miss. And I was like, she was just shocked, like, all I did was give you. I was like, you just don't even understand the level of validation, confirmation, this encouragement that you just gave me to continue to walk in this journey. Yeah. Because sometimes we get frustrated in the work we do. And so our natural response, I know for me, is to shut down. Like, either, okay, maybe I just don't need to do this, or I need to stop. Yes. Like, it's like, and it goes back to that protective nature. Like, I gotta protect myself, because what I'm not going to do is, you know, get hurt or go through this type of process again. But I'm learning to, like, not be so quick to shut down in situations, and learn to reflect and learn to just navigate even those who may not be as receptive to who you are and what you have to bring. But there are other people who appreciate it, and you need those around.
Like I'm a firm believer, and someone has confirmed this for me, that there are more people that recognize, like, the hard work, the diligence, the empathy, the care, that are less vocal than the real vocal people who are loud and wrong and struggling with their own stuff. And I'm telling them,
I like that.
I'm so grateful that, you know, you're sharing this with me. But can y'all build like a coalition where y'all can speak up more? Because it makes the job a little bit easier.
Exactly.
The noise.
Yeah. But you're right, though. That serves as a reminder, and I make sure I make note of that as myself. Like, there are more people who speak up about some of the wrong things or want to make noise versus people who are able to speak up and bring some sound to the situation. I like that. So
yeah, take it, child, because I'm definitely taking. Listen, when you see it online, I'm going to attribute you for it. I believe in giving credit where credit is due. You know. As a clinician working abroad, as a Black woman working abroad, all of these identities that we live within, can't extrapolate, probably wouldn't even desire to, you know, what have you recognized are some of the non-negotiables in your life that help you to show up as your healthiest self?
Mm. So, as far as me, is creating and implementing and reintroducing boundaries.
Ooh, that part.
Um, yeah, I didn't realize how I was not operating in a space of boundaries.
Yeah.
I love me it's Nedra's book.
Oh, Nedra Tawwab.
Yes,
I
her
think she's
boundaries
North
book.
Carolina.
Yeah, she lives in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but her book, Boundaries, like
I have.
I that was a that was an eye-opening experience for me personally.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, again, as clinicians, we're humans.
Mhm.
And sometimes we wear our professional hat so much for others, but it's like for me, being able to take that hat off and just be human, sometimes I realize how much work I have to do in myself. And so with that was boundaries, creating and implementing and boundaries and being comfortable with those who reject your boundaries, like
Yeah.
who, because a lot of times we hype other people up, like, girl, you need to put boundaries in place until that same person hype you up and you have to put a boundary in for them. And they like, wait a minute,
Right.
why you get like the boundaries hold no guards, like everybody going to have some type of boundary. So
It's
I
like
feel like
Oprah, you get a boundary and you get a boundary and you, because I care
everybody,
about you and
yes,
our
yes,
relationship, the boundary is going to help us
exactly.
stay in relationship.
And that's what I had to share with that person. Like, it's nothing towards you personal. You
Right.
haven't done anything for me, but for us to sustain or maintain a healthy relationship, we have to operate in boundaries, you know?
Yeah.
So, having that conversation is very beneficial. But for me, like being able to have those non-negotiables are the boundaries, and then rest and taking care of myself are non-negotiables. Like, I have to take a moment and pause and rest. Like saying no is a complete sentence.
Mm.
Missing out on opportunities sometimes, like, and I'm not even gonna say missing out, declining to attend every
Yeah.
event, everything.
Choosing.
Just being mindful of that time when I need rest. And speaking of rest, like I'm not ashamed to say I'm a napper. I take naps all the time. But
I've
it
learned.
wasn't until I learned moving abroad what rest really means. Like, yes, I was taking naps, but I was constantly putting myself in situations where I was showing up and exhausting myself. So
Yeah.
learning to just be mindful and being intentional about the things I'm getting involved with, how much I extend myself. Like with work balance, I don't check email. I've told my director that. I said, listen, if you have something that comes up that you need me after work hours, you need to message me on WhatsApp because I don't do email. He looked at me like, and I actually had to look at myself like, well, you just said that to like
Look at
that
you
to
set boundaries.
but setting boundaries. So I have to be mindful because with us as clinicians, you see an email, you may not respond, but you responding in your mind, you
Exactly. So you
processing
might
it.
as well.
You might as well respond to the email. So it's like having concrete, boundaries that I am implementing and adhering to and reminding people when they are violated, being comfortable with doing that. I have to. And then just investing in my self-care, doing what I need to do. I found that like what gets me through is making sure I sustain my prayer life, my meditation, my affirmations. I love your affirmations, by the way. Like your affirmations have like confirmed so much for me. And I've shared that with you multiple times. Like when I see something or read something. So I want to thank you for what you do for us as far as just sharing affirmations, speaking to us, challenging us to better ourselves. All those things are greatly appreciated because they have definitely done work for me.
Thank you
They have definitely contributed to the work that I'm doing within myself. So thank you for that. But
for that.
having affirmations, having meditation, prayer life, those things that are non-negotiable. Like I don't start my day without those things. And I'm learning to end my day now with, listening to mantras or listening to affirmations and things like that. So, yeah.
You mentioned like the affirmations, and I'm always second guessing myself about sharing because I don't want people to think I'm not good at self promotion, which is it may seem different, but I'm not. So when I have shared and you've offered, that there's been something in that affirmation that's helped you, that was affirming and validating for me to kind of get out of my head and not be so concerned about the reception, but knowing that it's for someone and whomever it's for, they will glean what they need to glean.
Exactly.
And I need to not, and I want everyone to hear this. We need to not overthink, dim our light, not operate in our purpose because of the fear of someone's perspective of opinion, because somebody needs what we have to offer.
Exactly.
And we do the world a disservice if we don't really operate in our purpose. You said something earlier, walking in alignment, and I added with my purpose. To me, that encompasses this entire conversation. And I'm quite grateful. You were worried and you have nothing to be worried about. I'm so sorry. Like,
no, you're fine. Don't apologize. You're fine. But you made this conversation easy. Like, just you making it easy. And it was, and like I said, I was like, she does such amazing work. I gotta be supportive. I was like, if I don't be on there, I'm at least send somebody her way to be on there.
And I am so grateful.
I'm glad I took that leap and challenged myself and came on, because you made it so easy. It's just like a conversation with you. But I don't normally like to do interviews. I'm an overthinker, so I'm always overthinking like what I want to share, and always, processing like, did I say that right? Oh, I didn't want. So it's like just to avoid going through all those different. I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna do it. But you have made this process very, very easy. I'm so glad that I joined and participated. And I just love the work that you're doing, period. So please get out of your head.
Because I'm in it.
No, yes. But we both the same way. We get in our head. Like when I tell you, that's why I didn't hang out much when we was in Bangkok, because I was doing so much overthinking, overprocessing with my presentation. Because one, I was like, do I even belong? Like, who wants to hear this? Like, I was such in my head, girl. Like the night before, I had a horrible headache, and it was all because of worrying. It was all because of that imposter syndrome. It was all of just figuring like, do I belong here? Is this something somebody want to hear? And so it wasn't until like after the day after my presentation where I felt like, I can breathe. So I say to you, get out of your head. Don't overthink it. You're doing work, and there's many others that you're touching that who may not vocalize how much you're impacting them. But sometimes, a lot of times, the information that you have shared has given me either a chill or has been such the confirmation I look for that I have no choice but to say, like, hey, this is touched me. And I'm learning to do that more now with people. Like, people need to know that they're impacting your life, or people need to hear. And so me personally, I try to be intentional about telling people when they impact my life or when they have contributed to something to me.
Hey,
so
Tara.
I challenge other people who are listening to be intentional about, if you heard something, someone said something or did something, give them their flowers, give people their flowers while they can still smell them and hear them. And so I give you yours now. Thank you so much, because I appreciate you.
Oh my gosh.
From the time you walked into the conference room up until this very moment, you are very appreciative.
Oh my gosh.
Appreciate it.
I feel so all over the place right now. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I'm really trying not to shed this tear, which is not being in alignment with my purpose. Okay, so I want to follow that up. Thank you. I'm terrible at taking compliments, but I've learned
receive.
I don't want to stop someone else from doing what they feel they need to do, because I don't know what growth that is for them. So I am beyond grateful for the affirmation. It means a lot. I like you, am somebody that overthinks. I struggle, and I have for a while, with imposter syndrome. That is why I talk about it so much. I want to talk about it, when we go to Athens. I'm working on that now. I
would be front row and center.
Girl, but I need you to know, now that I hear kind of like the pre-story before the presentation, I don't think that we all had connected as much as we did after, right? Mm-hmm. And I wish that we had connected before so that we could, I recognize and I respect, what you're sharing, because I know that it's difficult in those moments, not feeling like we belong here, not feeling like our voice matters or what we have to say is of value. But I hope that you felt during and after that it was.
Yes,
and I did. You weren't just there because you were Black. That's one of them. But two, everything that you shared was vital to help us be, I think, more engaging and present and connected with our kids in the work that we're doing. And I just really wish that we had an opportunity to just love on you and surround you and encourage you before that, because you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Right? I hope that you sit back and you kind of reflect on, without criticism, everybody was engaged. People were asking questions. People had questions after. We were trying to connect with, I think we took our picture after everything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Welcomed you into the fold. But I think all of this serves as a reminder that we do good work. We prepare to offer really good things into the world, and to acknowledge how difficult that can feel, like just in the identities that we hold and not wanting to misstep, that we have to have community when we are in these particular spaces. And what does that look like? I posted a quote this morning about kind of like rating your community, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, like your community connection, support, care. Like if you were to rate it today, I wonder what that rating would be and what does that mean? Like, what does that mean for how you engage with others or not? And how does that influence like the decisions that you make moving forward? And so I am grateful that you are a part of my community. And you have shared so much today. I feel like I'm looking in the mirror. Like I feel this kindred connection.
Yes.
And just thank you for being honest. Thank you for pushing yourself. Jumping scared. I'm gonna keep saying that, even though I I love it. So I just have like 1 or 2 more questions.
Okay.
What's the last word that you'd like to share to anyone contemplating right now operating in their purpose?
So I would say what you just said. Don't listen to the outside noise. I don't listen to other people, and be confident in knowing that if it came to you and it's something that sits well in your spirit, operate it, move forward in it. Don't second guess yourself. Don't shy away from it because you're overly concerned about how it's going to be received. It was planted in your spirit for a reason. You're passionate about it for a reason. And so operate in that space and watch how it flourishes, watch how it impacts others, but don't get so caught up in how it's going to be received, and don't get caught up in somebody else is doing something similar. What you have to contribute is going to come from your own flair. It's going to be your own addition to that gift. So operate in it without worrying about how it's going to be received. Focus less on that and focus on what your purpose is and what you want the outcome of that purpose to be. Whatever it is you're starting, whatever it is you're going to be doing, what is the end goal? What is you hoping to accomplish? And keep your mind focused on that. And then also too, just in life, period, like as far as whether you're starting a project or not, I like to say we all need board of directors as adults. You know, we talk about as kids, it takes a village to raise a kid, but you need to have a board of directors who you can sit with and be vulnerable with and process some things with about like the project that you're starting, because you're going to need someone who's going to cheer you on, because sometimes you can't encourage yourself. Sometimes you get so caught up in the what ifs or the things you can't control, those type of
Yeah.
things. But you need someone who's going to be honest with you, and you need someone who's going to help cheer you on, and someone who can just help you navigate through this process. So yeah, having you that that board that you can be vulnerable with, who can be honest with you in love,
Yeah.
not not projecting their fears on you, but talking to you in love and honest. Like, have you looked at it from this angle? These are things to explore, versus that ain't gonna work, or so and so doing it. Like there's a difference.
Yes.
And so just making sure you have that solid type of group of people you can operate in, but don't focus on how it's going to be received by others. Just do it.
Quality advice, right? From one therapist to another. Uh, how can we follow your journey, stay connected with you?
I don't have I was thinking about that because, people always ask that at the end, like, how we keep in touch with you? I was like, I don't really have like an open social media. I don't have any type of platforms or anything that's going on, but I am trying to figure out what I can do.
LinkedIn and
I did.
Instagram.
I know, like, I don't really, I have like one that I created when I first moved abroad, like following my experiences abroad, like just taking pictures of me traveling, that type of thing. But yeah, I don't really have anything, but I'm going to work on something and I'll share. I went to a chakra reading. I don't know if you do the different chakras or pay
I got
attention.
something that's blocked. I'm trying to get them unblocked.
My creative one is blocked. She said you need to share your, like, literally this was before I left, before I came to the States, someone gifted me a free thing to this place, Illuminations. Like, because before, being transparent and vulnerable, like receiving love was a block for me. Like, I would give, 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 give. But receiving was something I struggled with. I do work and through healing, it is unblocked. But what she said is blocked now is my creative. She said, you need to share your talents. You need to share, you have a lot that you need to share and you need to start doing it. And I was like, all I can do is laugh.
Because she right. I'm so glad that
She was
you
like, see, it's blocked. This is blocked. You guys, she's like, you need to. And I was like, okay.
Well, I'm going to second her confirmation that you have a lot to offer the world. I've witnessed it, and we're witnessing it right now. Like, somebody is going to catch all of these things that I wrote down that you shared in this hour and 26 minutes. And so I want you to trust yourself that, like, your expertise is valid, your experience is going to add to the tapestry of helping people to live a healed life. So I'm encouraging you. If I can help you in any way, please let me know, because clearly I don't run out of ideas now. This ADHD brain might be struggling with execution on everything, but we can collaborate and make it happen. So
yes.
I just want to say thank you. Like,
I thank you, and I love you, Kendall. I really do. I really mean it. I love it. But yes, I'm so glad I passed cross. Like, I left there just in a whole different mindset than when I arrived. So, but thank you. And I appreciate you all inviting me into the network.
Yes, we're going to expand that mug too. So I just want to say thank you. And for everyone that has tuned in today, I know that you've gleaned something, and I would love to know what that is. But again, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Black Expat Experience with Tara. I encourage you to keep taking risks, impacting your communities, prioritizing your mental health. And I'm going to add, speaking love. Oh, Jesus. Please share this in your communities of influence. Stay connected to us and let us know what you would like to hear moving forward. We have a lot more to offer you, lots of great more profiles, and I just hope that our community continues to grow and that we show the world that we thrive abundantly everywhere. And with that, I want to say thank you, Tara, and I can't wait to see you.
Can't wait to see you. Thank you.